Hey, what's up? This is part 5 in my series going over the differences in the Death Note anime and manga. If you haven't seen any of the other episodes, I have a playlist on my channel and you can click up in the corner to watch it now. In the last episode, we saw the end of Shoko. In this episode, we see the beginning of Light and L interacting more directly. This is also when the show started to get good, so I'm wondering if the manga will follow suit or if the show just started to get good because they followed the manga more directly. Getting into the anime, we open this episode with Light and Ryuk walking and talking about the investigation and surveillance. They take a trip to a park and Light gets Ryuk some apples and Ryuk spoils the whole series.
You know, I might actually write your name in my death note and kill you, just like that.
After Light returns to his house, he starts writing down names in the death note, but Light blew the budget with a mini TV trick, so he just remembers the identities of the criminals and then writes their names down while he's taking a walk. We cut to the task force where L is calling off the video surveillance, but is still sure there's a 5% chance that Kira was in one of the houses being surveyed.
I only said that we were unable to reveal anything suspicious based on our surveillance. It could mean he was able to continue killing without doing anything outwardly suspicious.
This leads Elle to think about how if Kira was among the houses surveyed, he's either lost so much humanity that he isn't affected by taking lives, or Kira thinks of himself as a god and doing the Lord's work to clean the streets.
If he is, we have to assume that his psyche has reached godlike proportions, punishing evildoers without the slightest change of expression.
Getting back to Light, we hear Ryuk tell Light that all the cameras are gone, and Light takes this moment to plan his next move.
Chances are my father is working with him, or under him anyway. If that's the case, I'll have to use my father to find out L's true identity, and I'll eliminate him.
With the investigation calming down and Light about to get into university, the future's looking promising until we see a familiar face while Light's taking the tests. This reveal is phenomenal, and even though Light doesn't know that he's looking at L, he knows that he's seeing someone he should keep an eye on. We get another glimpse into the Shinigami realm, where they're talking about all the recent traffic to the human realm, and more Shinigami are getting curious and wanting to see what's going on.
What's he thinking? Seriously?
He's a disgrace to the pride of the Shinigami.
No, I'm talking about the human who's keeping Ryuk.
We cut back to Light, who's going on stage to give his speech, and this is complicated when L is also called up to give a speech. While L is giving a speech, we hear crowd reactions and see a great bit of visual comedy when we see that the paper L's reading off of is blank.
Coming to the Toho entrance ceremony dressed like that? Unbelievable. Either he's crazy or he's just toying with us.
Freshman representative, Hideki Ryuk.
This all comes to a point when L reveals to Light who he is.
I want to tell you I'm L.
What? There's no way.
This destroys any confidence Light had about the investigation and backs Light into another corner. Light can't do anything with L. Using the name of a celebrity and also knowing his father and other task force agents, there'd be too many red flags raised if L were to die or if the celebrity whose name he's using dies. We see Light make his way home in silence, and after sitting down in his room, Light loses his shit and throws a fit while Ryuk, the actual factual god of death, sits there uncomfortably trying to calm Light down.
Damn it! He got me!
What do you mean?
Damn, L!
Light is so lost in the sauce at this point in the story that even Ryuk gets uncomfortable when listening to Light's power-drunk ramblings.
If it's my friendship you want, I'll gladly accept it. In time, I'll earn your trust. And once you've told me what I want to know, there'll be no point keeping you alive.
This scene is the closest the anime has gotten to showing Light as a real scary guy. Not like he's gonna jump out and steal your soul or kidnap your grandma, but like he's gonna tell you how you're always nice to him and how you should leave before things get ugly.
Fuck you too!
This episode starts off with Light and L on the tennis court playing a strategic game of chess, trying to use the game to feel each other out. We learn that Light used to play tennis, but L is no slouch as the competition starts.
15 love.
This is interrupted when Chief Yagami is talked to by a higher-up in a suit about the investigation, how the public is asking for answers. Chief Yagami isn't having it his way, and he lets the hog out all over this guy and tells the higher-up that L is risking his life right now.
Right now, even as we speak, he's risking his life.
While Light and Elle are playing, we hear their thought process and see a crowd start to form.
While it's true that Kira hates losing, it's also true that most people would rather win than lose. It's human nature.
Is he going to think that I'm Kira if I go for the win?
While this episode doesn't have ground-shattering reveals or significant plot development, what it does give us is character development, and it lets us see how these two are going to interact when put in such close proximity. Light goes for the win, and we're left wondering what it all means, with both parties going between a friendly game and a psychological exam. After the game, Light and Elle go to a cafe where Elle gives Light a test. The test is about suicide notes left by victims of Kira.
You can take as long as you want to look them over. Please let me know what you think.
Very interesting.
This test is multi-layered, with Light knowing the answer, but evidence numbers and multiple answers leaves Light wondering what he should say.
If I ignored this fact and was still able to come up with the phrase, "Elle, do you know, gods of death love apples," what would that mean?
After giving the correct answer first, Light then backpedals and says that there's other answers and print numbers on the back. This is when Elle throws Light for a loop and provides another note, telling Light how he shouldn't assume there were only 3 notes and not 4.
But seeing as I only had 3 photographs to work with, my deduction was perfect.
No, it wasn't. The truth is, there were 4 of them. If you'd figured that out, it would have been perfect.
Elle is still impressed and wants Light to join the task force because either way Elle wins, with Light giving them his insight and intelligence, or Kira being backed into a controlled corner.
If I cooperate with you, there's a chance I can help the investigation to move forward. And if I'm Kira, I might reveal myself. In other words, whether I'm Kira or not, you stand to gain either way.
Through Light's continuous talking and slipping up, Elle's suspicion raises from 3% to 7%. But this is all interrupted when both Light and Elle get a phone call informing them that Chief Yagami has just had a heart attack.
Light, your father is...
Light, it's your...
My father, he had a heart attack.
This is a fake out kinda, with the heart attack being stress and not Kira. This puts Light, Elle, and Chief Yagami all in the same room, where Chief Yagami confirms for Light that Elle is who he says he is. Light gets some heat off him, with Light wanting to join the task force and talking to his father about how they want each other to be safe.
Besides, don't you remember my promise? That if something ever happened to you, I would find Kira and make sure he gets executed.
This is when we see Chief Yagami directly challenging Kira's point of view and calling his abilities a curse without even knowing that Kira is not only standing over him, but is also his own son.
What is truly evil is the power to kill people. And any person who has come to possess this kind of power is cursed.
After Elle and Light are shuffled out of the hospital, Light asks Elle how he could clear his name and remove Elle's suspicion.
Put yourself in my position. How do you think it feels to be accused of being Kira?
It was one of the worst feelings ever.
Light suggests total isolation and observation to prove his innocence, but Elle questions if someone who is innocent would go to such lengths.
Would any normal person be willing to go to such extreme measures to clear their name? That's no good. I can't do anything that would deprive you of basic human rights.
Oh, one more thing.
You fucking with a psycho, bitch!
And this ends with Elle riding off into the moonset in a Benz truck and Light walking home talking to Ryuk.
I never once felt cursed since I picked up the Death Note. In fact, the thought never even crossed my mind. I'm happier than I've ever been, all thanks to this power.
Light tells Ryuk about how he feels the opposite of curse since he had the Death Note, and Ryuk tells Light about the misfortune that often follows the notebook.
Normally, humans who come into contact with a Shinigami have nothing but misfortune.
That's interesting.
This is when we cut to a newsroom and we get a teaser for the next episode with a package containing notes and tapes that were supposedly sent by Kira.
A message to the world from Kira. If you do not broadcast these tapes, I will kill your company's board of directors one by one. Who wouldn't air these?
If you know, you know, but if you don't, then make sure to come back when I post the next video in this series, because this show's about to get really good. It's about to start its climb to the peak before taking a sharp nosedive and then ending strong with the last 2 episodes. In the manga, when Light is writing down names for later, he thinks back to the mini TV and he mentions how he had to have it muted and he couldn't see the screen all the way, and that's why he ended up killing minor criminals instead of his usual pickings. When Elle is talking about stopping surveillance, we hear about how nobody from either family was on the security tapes from Ray's death, and when Elle is talking about Kira still being a member of the family, it's more like Kira didn't slip up and that's why they didn't catch anybody. Where in the anime it's just a percentage drop and Kira slipping up is just one of a couple of possibilities. When Elle is thinking about the type of person Kira could be, he spends more time on the Kira actually being a god angle, questioning what they did to anger the gods. The task force also talk about doing in-person investigations and the dangers associated with them, and I prefer the anime where we see the task force stuck before getting the reveal of Elle during the test. While they don't outright say what Elle is about to do, they basically spoil the surprise before you even know it's a surprise. While the scene where Light and Elle are taking the test is better in the anime, I mean, pictures are great, but motion and sound add 2 dimensions. It's still a great scene in the manga, which is exactly the same as in the anime. The opening to the next chapter has a nice twist on the classic Spider-Man line, and it just makes me think about the batshit crazy Japanese Spider-Man. When Light and Elle are going on stage to give their speeches, we hear about a board of counselors that would assess students, and the one with the overall better grades in all subjects would be the representative, breaking any ties that would come from the test. This line adds so much to Elle using his connections to get placed there with Light. While in the show we can assume it's the same situation, we don't really get an answer one way or the other. Both are possible when dealing with Elle. He has the connections to make it happen, but he also has the brain to pass the test. We also don't get to see that Elle's paper is blank or hear the different diversity between Light's passionate cookie cutter and Elle's complete disregard. I won't hold it against the manga because there's only so much you can do with art and text, and I would hope the anime would do better when it has motion and sound. When we see Light breaking down his room, he tells us how even though he can control the actions of a person before they die, he can't make someone written in the death note kill someone who isn't written in the death note. The ending shot with Light sitting in the chair thinking over his next move uses quite striking language, with Light really turning into the man who wanted to watch the world burn. While Light and Elle are playing tennis, we get a whole scene between 2 characters where they talk about Light and Elle and how they're using the tennis court even though they're not in the club. We also get a better idea of why Elle wanted to play tennis, with him talking about getting Akira to say something while they were together. Light realizes Elle's trying to get him to slip up by making Light focus more on the tennis game and less on the social game of hiding his identity. Also, while Chief Yagami is talking to the director, we learn that Elle has done the same thing he did with Light to the director's daughter, and Chief Yagami tells the director that his son is the only suspect before promptly asking the director to forget what he heard and leave the task force alone. The scene with Chief Yagami and the director ends the same way, with the chief saying that Elle is risking his life before cutting back to Elle, but with this scene taking place after the tennis game, it cuts to them in the cafe. I like how it happens in the anime because it's funnier, but I like how it happens in the manga because it's paced better. We also get to see Light flipping the script on Elle, telling him that he doesn't think Elle is actually Elle, and they have a little back and forth before getting into the suicide note puzzle. Elle also gives Light the list of FBI agents when he's being tested, and after Light asks what the list is for, Elle lets him in on the fact that there was the name and face of all the agents on the list, and it's highly likely that Kira used the list when taking out the agents. We also get some of the news station in between the cafe and the hospital, and while there's more here with them talking about how they get, or rather make, their stories, I prefer how it is in the anime, with it coming in at the end, getting the viewer excited for the next episode. While Light, Chief Yagami, and Elle are talking, Elle talks about how all the incoming investigators were killed, but no Japanese investigators were killed, which could mean that Kira's getting his inside information from someone like a family member. They also talk about how Shoko went missing, and she was the only person related to the agents that had something suspicious happen to them. We also get a great scene of Light talking about Kira and how Kira would most likely be a middle school to high school age student from a wealthy family, ending on an ignorant middle schooler who has access to a computer, which is someone we've all ran into at one point or another. Light's father also talks about how it couldn't be Sayu because she'd break down and cry if she found out she had the ability to kill, and Ryuk gets a jab in at Light, saying he wonders why Light's father said his sister and not Light. We end this chapter the same way we ended the episode, with the news team getting the tapes from Kira. Boy, oh boy, am I excited to get into the next few episodes. I remember this being my favorite part of the series, and with how much I'm loving the manga, I'm curious to see what changes they make. If I had to guess, it'll be some swag shit. With how the manga uses language to make the character of Light more unhinged and psychotic, I'm excited to see how he interacts with the new character coming up. Anyway, I hope the wait was worth it, because this series is about to get good, and you should make sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on so you can see the next episode when it comes out. Also, check out my videos going over Batman. I have a few going over various episodes from various series, from the animated series to beyond. I also co-host a podcast with RNE King called Henny for Your Thoughts, and if you want to hear my opinions about things I don't cover on the channel, you should go ahead and check that out. Anyway, I'll catch you on the flip side. Until next time, later.
What in fuck's name are you doing?